All right, what we're going to be doing is the HD axle swap out for the standard axle. All right, remove the wheels. We're going to take off the spanner bar and the radius rods. Then we're going to remove the whole axle in its entirety. We're going to remove it at the base plate. I've heard riders describe the 3-link as turns like a dual kingpin with the precision of a reverse kingpin. With this truck, you can set the ride height, steering ratio, thrust angle, and track width for the desired target speed of your board. We built it for racing. We use the same truck for short track. We use it for uphill and long track racing. The HD is our heavy dude axle. It's made from 5/8 alloy steel versus the 1/2-inch alloy of the standard axle. The larger axle increases the contact area for the HD motor mounts and the radius rod mounts, and what this means is a stronger rotational mounting grip. Last week we raced Maryhill in Washington State. The top four boards that qualified were our V5 race boards. Mario Chacon was the top qualifier. He had an average speed of 48 miles an hour for the 2.2 mile course. So it was a good weekend. What you want to do is keep the hardware with the radius rods. You'll notice the two thick flat washers. They create a more substantial base for the split washer, to rest against. If you don't have them, get them. It doesn't matter. You could be riding a Meepo, or you could be riding a LaCroix or LaCroix. If you bolt a set of these on, you're going to have better control in steering. Your confidence is going to be locked in. So the collars here, you don't want to take them off at the radius rod mount. You want to take the split collar bolts and loosen those up first. What that does is it unpins the radius rod bolt and allows you to take those out a little easier. So as far as the radius rod collars go, you don't need to spin those off the axle or take the bushings or any of that stuff off. Leave it all on the axle. All that hardware makes for a good spare down the road maybe, but really the only thing that'll transfer over to the new truck is the bushings. So all the collar sizes and everything are smaller. Just going to move the table a little bit. This is our HD axle we're going to be putting in. As you see the difference between the two axles. It comes with all the hardware here as you see it. The radius rods are spaced away so you don't have to adjust anything. Everything's lined up and ready to go. Doesn't hurt to take and drop a little bit of blue Loctite on the threads before you spin her down in there, or you can put the Loctite down inside if that's what you like to. So you want the bottom of the heim flush with the bottom of the base plate. And once you got those lined up right, you can go ahead and tighten her down. So tightening her down, you want to make sure that this thing's square. You want to make sure that the heim is in line and that the axle is perpendicular. And a good set of eyes, you can just kind of get there. And you just put a little bit of counter steer on that when you go to tighten it down. And just give it a good tightening in there. So with the radius rods, all you got to do with these guys is back them up. Don't let them rotate, and everything will line up for you. So with the HD, you want to find that slot, slowly work it down until it stops working back and forth. That means that the bolt has found the groove. Go ahead and twist her down snug. You don't have to go super tight on these, not on this part. And flip it over, and this is going to actually crush that pin in as you tighten it down. Also, if you want to add a little blue Loctite on these, you can't hurt anything by putting blue Loctite and stuff. That's the beauty of the blue. You can always get it loose later. So when we go to put these back on, it's important that we get these washers in here. We've had a couple of guys, you can tell by looking at this tiny little surface here on our old setup. We put the washer on here. It's a nice thick zinc plated washer. What it does is it spreads the load out a little further, and like I said, we've had a couple of these break up in the top portion. It spreads the load out and makes them a little tougher. And so if it was a front truck, we would have the radius rods on top. With the rear truck, we want to flip these over and have them on the bottom. So from here, you want to take a look at your radius rods, the angle to the radius rod and the angle to the bolt. You want to make sure it's a 90 degree, and that'll give you full movement. If these are rotated forward, what'll happen is the heim on the axle side won't have enough movement, and it'll bottom out and start bending things. Any binding is bad. So we'll go ahead and adjust these up real quick. They don't need much, just a little bit. Check your axle, make sure it's still square. Then what I like to do is rotate all the heims the same direction. I'm going to tighten them. And what that does is it ensures me that the heims will have side-to-side play when we're done, and I'll show you that here in a second. So side-to-side play, you want to have this, and you want to have this. Okay, so adjusting these for the bushing preload, it's just a matter of turning these in or turning these out. A quarter turn does a lot. As far as putting the motor plates back on, what I suggest you do is put a little blue Loctite on the axle, and that'll make the threads stick a little bit, give them something to hang on with. And your old motor plates are not going to fit on the new axle due to the girth of it. So the HD axle is an inch wider than our standard axle, and what that allows is for 212 millimeter of motor placement, so you can put those large 100 millimeter motors in there. One of the nice things about this truck is you can clock your motor plates at any angle you want. You get that on there and check your spanner rod. Make sure your spanner rod fits. You get your motors on first, of course. But before you get your motors on, you want to check your spanner rod, make sure that it's at the right length for these. So when you go to tighten down your motor mounts, I use a little wrench like this. It gives you a little more leverage because a straight-on screwdriver just doesn't give you enough. That's pretty much it.